I say any president, Jimmy Carter, anybody, any president would have obviously, under those circumstances, done the same thing. And to now take credit for something that any president would do is indicative of the kind of campaign we're under. I've had the great honor of serving in the company of heroes, and you know the thing about heroes, they don't brag. So to say that Mitt Romney wouldn't have, I mean, is politicizing what an event that all Americans applauded enormously.
Okay.
Of course, that Senator John McCain taking the president to task for a spot that, with the voice of Bill Clinton speaking about as we approach and now have met the one-year anniversary of Osama bin Laden's death, the actions the president took that day, complete with photos from the Situation Room. And for those of you who haven't seen it or vaguely know what I'm talking about, let me play a portion of it.
One thing George Bush said that was right. The president is the decider-in-chief. Nobody can make that decision for you. Look, he knew what would happen. Suppose the Navy SEALs had gone in there and it hadn't been bin Laden. Suppose they'd been captured or killed. The downside would have been horrible for him. But he reasoned, I cannot in good conscience do nothing. He took the harder and the more honorable path, and the one that produced, in my opinion, the best result.
It's not worth moving heaven and earth, spending billions of dollars just trying to catch one person. He was referring to the hunt for Osama bin Laden. What did he mean by that? Because it's generated a little controversy.
He had to decide. And that's what you hire a president to do.
All right, Dominic, you've seen the back and forth on the politics of this. How do you think it's played out here? General public, forget the talking heads. Do you think this reminded people about what went down? The most hated guy politically, you'd think this is a home run. Has it played out that way?
Surprisingly, the two major parties disagree over this. Newsflash.
Yeah.
You know, surprisingly, Senator McCain is adamantly siding with his nominee and against President Obama. Newsflash. I think most Americans are not really paying attention to this. I really do believe it's inside baseball for the experts in this area. But I really do feel this, Richard, in terms of if you ask the average American, would you rather fight the war on terrorism, have it be done here in America or there? They will say there. But I think the bottom line is important to get this point. I know we're talking politics. I think most Americans are looking at the price tag. We are hurting badly here in America, and I think most Americans are tired of seeing the government policing the world at our expense.
Anybody who's offended by the politicizing of this probably wasn't going to vote for him anyway, so it's kind of a freebie reminder to the country, oh, by the way, I killed that guy.
You know, the one thing that I hear in the back and forth, and maybe you shouldn't have done the spot, or maybe they should have done it a little bit. Usually he's very subtle about these things. I'm surprised how they played it on Sunday. But to suggest that everybody would have done it, again, people I respect a lot more, that know a lot more than me, and I'm curious your perspective, Colonel, is there's no guarantees with missions like that. I mean, you saw the still photo when there was a problem with that chopper. It could have gone down. We could have had not only fatalities from our guys, we could have had prisoners of war. I mean, it could have gone, it could have been bad intel, God knows, you know, the quality of intel. So there was a risk associated, most importantly, for SEAL Team 6, but also for whoever the commander-in-chief was that made that decision. I think in retrospect, people made it sound like it was a gimme. This was not a layup, what those guys did.
No, it definitely wasn't. Look, separating the policy of the strategic partnership, which made sense, the politics is absolutely horrendous in this thing. Starting when he said a time certain to get out. You don't do that for strategic reasons. If you want to get out, you don't tell the enemy that. You can still get out, but you don't tell the enemy that.
Were you as tweaked when your commander-in-chief wore a flight suit and walked on a hard deck with a mission accomplished? Were you as mad then?
You know, at the end of the day, that was probably not the right thing to do.
Definitely it wasn't. It wasn't mission accomplished.
But he was there to pump up the troops. And anyone who's been out there knows that troops want to get pumped up. They shouldn't have had that banner mission accomplished.
Don't
There's
we need,
no
don't
doubt
we need to
about
keep the
that.
country pumped up, though? I mean, isn't that
Well-
just as important as keeping the troops pumped up?
Well stated. Where is the leadership from this president on keeping
He killed the worst bad guy in the world.
and said we're getting out of Afghanistan
Time out.
next year.
This is where I agree with the pundits that say, and you go back to our presidents past and potentially future, I bet any money that all of them would have said yes to that decision. Now the question of who gets the credit and should I take personal credit?
You're the expert. You know better than anybody at this table having military experience. But is it so easy to say in retrospect that every president would have made the same decision?
Invading an ally's sovereign territory,
I don't
too.
know if you remember a little place called Tora Bora where there were also options, maybe not as clear-cut as this one, and certain choices weren't made there. People have made mistakes, and God knows, as Jimmy Carter will tell us, it doesn't always go according to script as we remembered and ran.
Absolutely, but I bet you, knowing what happened there, Jimmy Carter would have said yes again, and that was a failed mission. They would have adjusted the operation so it would have succeeded. Tora Bora was an operational failure, but there was no decision that was clear yes or no by the president. This was absolutely clear, yes. We've done the intel for many, many months. We know what to do. We're operationally ready, and all the president had to say yes. The real heroes are the people on the ground who made that happen.
I don't think there's a debate to that. My only point is if I knew, Colonel, that everybody would have said, if it didn't work, hey, we still stand with you, Mr. President. It was the right decision to make, even if the results were wrong, I'd be with you. I have zero doubt that that wouldn't be the case. People would have been pointing fingers that night before the president even got to explain why he did what he did. But we shall see. Certainly we're going to learn the answer in November, right, Dominic?